Welcome to this YouTube channel. Today we want to look at how cancer cells actually gain energy to power themselves for proliferation. We're going to look at the phenomenon and probably look at the reason why this is happening. So today we want to look at what we call the Warburg effect, how and why cancer cells actually feed on sugar. So when we talk about Warburg effect, we're talking about a metabolic phenomenon whereby cancer cells switch to production of lactate in the presence of sufficient oxygen. And this particular concept was actually discovered by German scientist known as Otto Warburg. So let's look at how the normal cells actually um, gain energy to function, and then we now compare it to how the Warburg effect actually comes to play. So for the normal cells, we have glucose, which could be gotten from the food or the diet that we have taken, and through several reactions at the glycolytic pathway leads to the production of pyruvate. To get more information on this, you can actually look at our previous video where we discussed in detail how glucose is broken down to pyruvate with the concomitant production of ATP. Okay, now in the absence of oxygen, several reactions can also lead to production of lactate and ethanol. Well, in the presence of oxygen, we have production of two molecules of ATP from the glucose to pyruvate itself. Now, in the presence of oxygen, it goes to formation of acetyl-CoA, and from this acetyl-CoA, you have the Krebs cycle, which happens in the mitochondria. And then from there, you have production of two molecules of ATP. The Krebs cycle also lead to another pathway like the oxidative phosphorylation, which also leads to the production of more ATPs in this sense. And after this, you discover that this leads to the production of these ATPs, and helps to power the cells, the normal cells in the body, gains energy from these ATPs that have been produced from glycolysis, from the Krebs cycle, and from the oxidative phosphorylation inside the mitochondria. While that of the glycolysis inside the cytosol, the Krebs cycle and the oxidative phosphorylation production happens inside the mitochondria. And that is where the normal cells actually gain their energy from. But under Warburg effect, where we have our glucose, now we have similar reactions that leads to production of pyruvate. But in this time around, now we have sufficient of oxygen. But in the presence of sufficient oxygen, we don't have acetyl-CoA actually leading to the production of Krebs cycle, and from there going to oxidative phosphorylation inside the mitochondria. There is no production of ATP along this route. Rather, in the presence of sufficient oxygen, we actually have production of ATP, the first two ATP that's actually being produced of pyruvate. And then we now have enzyme lactate dehydrogenase leading to production of lactate. And this lactate will now help in the production of two molecules of ATP. But this reaction is so fast that it can lead to 10 to 100 times production of ATPs even before glucose goes through the complete oxidation for complete production of about 38 ATPs. So you now have a lot of ATPs now being produced by the cancerous cells. So this happens majorly in cancer cells. So the Warburg effect happens in the cancer cells. Now you have massive production of ATP, and this ATP is as a result of the lactate that is being produced by the pyruvate. And the lactate dehydrogenase is the enzyme that is actually responsible for this. So you have these ATPs. Now, what did they do now? They now help to begin to power some of the cancerous cells. So the cancerous cells will now be powered to gain energy because we have enough supplies of ATPs, and those cancerous cells, can continue that invasion to other parts of the body, and this can also lead to the whole system being shutting down just because of the Warburg effect. So the Warburg effect shows us how the cancerous cells have been able to gain extra ATP without passing through the complete oxidation of glucose to oxidative phosphorylation. So what are the possible reasons for this? Number one, it has been suggested that the cancer cells they do that in order to evade and to be evasive. So, and how did they do this? We have what we call the tissue-associated macrophages. This actually requires a lot of energy. And what it does is that it helps to arrest the cancer cell. That should be in normal function. But through the Warburg effect, because of the production of lactate, it leads to what we call the lactate acidosis. And this helps in the generation of hydrogen ion. And this hydrogen ion prevents glucose uptake. And when glucose is not available for the tissue-associated macrophages, the energy that is required, because it requires a lot of energy, will not be available. And so it won't be able to carry out the work of arresting the cancer cells. And so this means that the cancerous cells will be able to evade and then be able to proceed to invade other other cells in other organs in the body. Number two reasons also that have been stated is that the rate of production of ATP, of course, in this Warburg effect is 10 to 100 times faster than what we have if the glucose goes through the process of the complete oxidation of glucose to oxidative phosphorylation, where we have about production of about 38 ATPs at the same time. Discovered that but before it gets to 38, with the shortcut of going to production of lactate, it must have produced 10 to 100 times faster ATPs than if it has passed. So it means that it is more efficient in production of ATP. And number three reason is adipocytes. So now that the cells are proliferating rapidly, they need sources of ATP as quickly as possible because the complete oxidation actually requires oxygen. And the rapid proliferation of the cell may actually outgrow the oxygen supply. So this actually ensures that where ATP is being actually supplied adequately to the proliferating cells. And also for biosynthesis, it helps to serve as a quick source of carbon for biosynthesis that is needed, even also for the proliferation of the cells. So these are some of the reasons that have been given for Warburg effects. So work is still ongoing, and I think more work should also be done in this particular space to see how we can truncate the availability of ATP to those cancerous cells. Thanks for watching. If you have learned one or two things from this video, I want you to go ahead to press the subscribe button, and also make sure that you also share this video and like the video as you have watched. Thanks for watching.